What's up guys, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Hellwig rear sway bar on your F150. Now, super important, before we get into this install, you can see we've got the truck up on the lift, and we're gonna show you how to install it with the truck up in the air. But Hellwig strongly recommends that you do this install with the weight of the vehicle on the ground. You don't want the axle hanging because it's gonna mess with the adjustment. Now, to compensate for that, obviously we're gonna do the install up here where we can fit our lights and fit our cameras underneath. Once we're done, I'm gonna set the truck on the ground and I'll adjust it again once I have the vehicle's weight planted. But for the sake of shooting it and showing you guys, we're doing it in the air. That's just one of the big things to consider. Now, the other thing is there are torque specs in your manual from Hellwig, so as you go through, you can torque everything to the specs that they list, and we'll put little reminders on screen, but just something to keep in mind. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the install. First thing we're gonna do is take this bracket for inside the frame, and we're gonna run it through this little square channel that's cut out and kind of slide it over towards where it lines up with the shock mount, and should be able to just poke it in. We're gonna do the same thing here on the driver's side. There's another square cutout, and then we're gonna aim for this ovaled out hole here, kind of towards the fuel strap for the tank. In your hardware kit, you're gonna have two of these roughly inch-long bolts, as well as two of these U-shaped brackets, and so we're gonna put one of each on each side. After you've got your two U-brackets on the truck, you're gonna need to assemble your end links for this arm. And there's gonna be two sections for it. You'll have the actual threaded shaft and then obviously the thicker section that it threads into. Now with this, you're gonna need to put a nut on here, and that's gonna act as a stop nut to hold it once you get the adjustment to the right length. And with that, you're also gonna need to add the bushings and the sleeves to the inside. Now you can see here I have them already popped in, but you'll get some grease in the kit, so you'll grease around that, grease around the little sleeve, slide those together, and then it helps if you use a vise to kind of push this in, so that way it seats into the actual metal loop for the end link. Without a vise or anything to put pressure on it, it's going to be hard to do this by hand. So once you have it assembled, we're going to hang it back on the truck. We're going to bring the end link up to the mount here and push it into place, and then we're going to use this 2.5 inch long lag bolt, go through that sleeve, and we'll have a nut for the other side. Then to tighten these down, you're gonna want an 11/16 socket and a 5/8 wrench. After you've got that tight, do the same thing on the other side. Now bring your sway bar up into place next to your end link, and you're gonna wanna have this positioned inboard, so opposite of where the leaf spring is. And then we're gonna use one of the longer 2 3/4 inch lag bolts, as well as a washer here to slide through that sleeve, hold this in place. Then we can add a washer on this side as well as the nut. All right, let's do the same thing on the other side. Now dig back into your hardware kit and grab one of your grease packets as well as your sway bar bushings, and we're gonna apply a little grease on the inside here. Make sure we get that smeared around nice and even. All right, and then we're gonna wanna position this bushing as far towards the outside edge of the sway bar as we can. So right about there should be good, and we'll do the same thing here on the other side. So I've got our sway bar propped up with the jack stand, so it's kind of up closer to the axle. And we're gonna need to position this bracket in for the U-bolt. as well as the actual U-shaped bracket that holds the bushing. So we'll slide those together. And then we can take our new U-bolt from the top and drop this through. Now here you do want to be especially careful. Make sure you get the U-bolt inside of all of your brake lines and not over the top of them, because if you tighten this down and it crushes these, you're gonna have a real bad time. Now we're gonna grab that set of thicker washers that came in your hardware kit, as well as the nuts for the U-bolt, and we'll start threading these on. I'm gonna leave them kind of loose though, so I can get the other side going too before I come back and tighten this. All right guys, so we are at the end of the install now. The one last thing that you're gonna wanna make sure you do is, if you have your truck in the air like we do, you're gonna wanna put it back down on its wheels, have the weight of the truck on the ground so that the sway bar is sitting level, and you're gonna wanna adjust and tighten those nuts on your end links back there so that way it holds it in place. You don't want the sway bar pitched downward like this, or caught up to where it's gonna hit on the diff or anything like that. So make sure you do those adjustments with the weight of the vehicle on the ground. After you've got everything tightened together, you can put about 100 miles on your vehicle before you'll want to come back under here and just double check that everything's tight and hasn't rattled loose. So that's just good practice for safety. Now, with all that out of the way, if you are looking to pick up one of these Hellwig sway bars for your F-150, we'll have a link down in the description to this kit so you can pick one up for your truck. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.